Donald Trump is not at all happy that judges are providing a little bit of token constitutional resistance against his mass deportation plans. And so he did what he always does, which is absolutely freak out on social media about it. So he posted on Truth Social, this radical left lunatic of a judge. We'll return to whether they're radical left or lunatic. A troublemaker and agitator who is sadly appointed by Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah, put the Hussein in there if it makes you feel better, Donald Trump. Anyway, was not elected president. He didn't win the popular vote by a lot, which is true. I checked it. That judge was not elected president. So point to Trump for that. He didn't win all 7 swing states. He didn't win more counties or whatever. He didn't win anything. I won for many reasons. And okay, so it goes on, nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. I'm just doing what the voters wanted me to do. This judge, blah, 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 blah. I am forced to, so like many of the judges I am forced to appear before should be impeached. Okay, so he should be impeached because he did his job. And Trump doesn't like it. I did a little fact check. The many times that judges stopped Joe Biden when he was president or overturned, for instance, student loan debt cancellation. I didn't find any references to Trump saying that they should be impeached, which is weird. I thought that I would find that. I thought this was a principle, but it turns out that it's not. And let me just briefly, the least important part of this is he didn't win the popular vote by a lot, that judge. Well, I mean, Trump, you kind of have that in common with him because I'll just remind everyone in graphic 6, you won by like 1.5%, buddy. That's not actually a lot. I mean, if that's a lot, then Joe Biden won the popular vote by a lot, because it was many times more than yours. And by the way, if we just want to look at like the winning margin, yours is the green one, buddy. It's a tiny little green one at the end there. That's not huge at all. You keep telling yourself that's big, buddy. That doesn't change the facts on the ground. But anyway, he is calling for a judge to be impeached. Again, it's a routine thing that he does now. And just to be clear, of all of the references any president has ever made about judges being impeached for telling him not to do something, Trump has made all of those references in American history. Biden didn't do that. George W. Bush didn't do that. Obama got through 8 years without it. Trump is now just routinely saying, how dare you do what judges do? And so what's interesting is not that he's gonna freak out. He's an emotional little guy. It's that John Roberts this morning, is right before we went live, he actually rebuked Trump for that Truth Social post. He said impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. And he should, I think, care a little bit about this because Donald Trump is calling for the lower court judges to be impeached for disagreeing with him. So what happens if the SCOTUS overturns something that he does? I mean, I think that John Roberts knows it's just as easy for Donald Trump to sit on the toilet and type out a Truth Social post about impeaching him and then maybe try to do it. And so Chuck Schumer isn't providing any real resistance to what Trump is doing. Maybe the Supreme Court should start taking it seriously because Donald Trump is at war with them. Tori, what do you make of this?
I don't appreciate making me see an image of Trump on the toilet. And I really think that you should apologize for that. And second off, thank you, I appreciate that. Second off, this is gonna come down to like a duel. This is like Hamilton Burr between Roberts and Trump. Because at the end, all this adjudication is gonna go to the Supreme Court. We're all gonna go to the Aliens Act of 1798, back with the muskets and all that. We're gonna go end up at the Supreme Court. And Roberts is interesting. If you look at his record, he is not the pro-Trump way that you always think he's gonna be. He doesn't always land that way. He's become a much more independent Chief Justice. And he is like the last bastion, am I saying that right? Bastion of the strength of the courts. And so it's become this like spotlight of what I see as a showdown between really Trump and Roberts. And it's gonna be these two institutions against each other. And we're gonna see how strong Roberts picks. Is he the cult of personality? Because if you remember at that State of the Union, you heard a mic drop. Did you hear that hot mic, John? He went to Roberts, remember this? And he said, thanks, I'll remember what you did for me about the immunity. And I don't know, that caused me to kind of be like, huh? And so to me, I think the end of this will be a Roberts showdown versus a Trump showdown, whether on social media or in the courts or in Congress. But Roberts is going to be our last standing constitutional icon. And that scares a lot of people. But he's the be all end all. And he's saying right now, he's castigating Trump. And that's a big deal from a chief justice in his party. That's a big deal.
We'll see.
Watch for Roberts. Watch for Roberts.
Yeah, watch for, although you brought up Hamilton Burr, watch for Roberts to potentially be shot by Donald Trump. They let you do it. They do. You can do it on Fifth Avenue. So maybe. And other people are sort of jumping ahead of what I was gonna bring up, which is that this feels super weird.
Okay.
Bearing in mind, she gets no real credit because she helped kill Roe v. Wade, but Amy Coney Barrett has occasionally voted against him. I mean, she's an evil religious zealot, but she also has occasionally voted against him. So I guess that's something.
Those two are what I'm giving my hope on, and that's not a good thing to put your hope on. Those two.
Yeah, no, not at all. And so anyway, this war is ongoing, and I think tomorrow on the show we're going to return to a few more of the arguments that the administration is making about why courts don't matter any more than the legislature matters. They don't care about literally anyone else in government. Let's be clear about that. But I want to move to a related topic. We're going to jump ahead of the B block and talk about another immigration-related story, because I like talking about the meta stuff, the philosophical stuff, constitutions and everything, but I also want to talk about how it's affecting real people. So let's do that now. I hope that by now we all understand that the picture that has been painted by Donald Trump about mass deportation and the sort of immigrants that he is deporting don't match up with reality in the vast majority of cases. This is not generally killers and terrorists and cannibals and whatever. It's regular people. And some Trump voters are finding out about that in a very personal sense, actually. This is a sad story, but it involves Bradley Bartell. He is a Wisconsin man who last November voted for Donald Trump. Now, after that, he had his honeymoon. And so he's married to a woman named Camila Munoz. On the way back from that honeymoon, they were in Puerto Rico. She was, you guessed it, detained by ICE. They asked her if she was an American citizen. She responded that she was not, but that she was married to one, and that her and her husband had taken steps to secure her legal immigration status. Okay, so again, that's true of many people. That normally would have counted for something, but we are unfortunately in very different times now. And so Bartell, he says that one of the reasons he voted for Trump was to hold criminal illegal immigrants accountable. And he is now expressing his regret because his wife is being held accountable. Now, when he says criminal illegal immigrants, he probably means something else. He's probably thinking of murder or whatever. But the issue is that that's not what the Trump administration means when they say that. And they're very clear when you ask Carolyn Leavitt, well, what if they haven't committed any crime? She says, no, they're here. That's the crime. Even though it's not, it's an administration, it's a civil violation. But that is what they mean. And so you get people like Camilla being caught up in this. And he goes on to say, emotionally, I'm concerned for her. It can't be easy being trapped in a room with 100 other people. They don't have anything in there. It's just so wasteful. I knew they were cracking down. I guess I didn't know how it was going down. And again, this is not about like dunking on him or his family. I feel terrible for him and his family. I don't want any of this to have happened. Trump was pretty clear though, for 10 years or so about how much he utterly despises anyone who's here illegally. He hates them on a very personal level, and he has filled his administration with people who hate them on a very personal level. So it feels kind of like how it was always gonna go down. I mean, I hadn't guessed Guantanamo Bay. That was new to me, but other than that. And so anyway, bear in mind, his wife has no criminal record, okay? She is one of many individuals that are married or engaged to a US citizen who's been detained by ICE for weeks. Many of these people have resided within the US for years and don't have any criminal records. Again, that's why we keep highlighting all these cases. Now, I say that she doesn't have a criminal record, okay, but the Trump administration has repeatedly pretended that administrative violations are criminal offenses. That's sort of the issue here. By the way, during the pandemic, she overstayed her visa because she was unable to get home to Peru with flights canceled and borders closed. Sort of an understandable situation considering what's happened. She stayed in the Dells, the area where they live, working jobs in food service and at a local farm. So the only thing that she did wrong was overstaying her visa. Again, the pandemic was happening, but that's also not a criminal violation of US immigration law. It's an administrative violation. It can result in a bar to returning to the US for up to 10 years, or can be lawfully forgiven under a quote waiver of unlawful presence if the immigrant's spouse or immediate relative is a US citizen, which he is in this case. And again, what did she do? She couldn't leave. We couldn't leave. It was a pandemic, and she was working. She was contributing, helping us during that time. This is a perfect opportunity to waive that. And by the way, she was detained back in February. She has been in a private detention center in Louisiana ever since then. We're paying for that needlessly. She could be off working, I don't know, in food service or whatever her job is. She could be doing that. She could be in post-marital bliss, maybe starting a family or something like that, continuing to contribute to our country as they both have been. But she doesn't get to do that. Okay, because of where I guess she was originally from. And that is the only thing that matters. This is deeply identity based, and it's not just her. As we discussed, maybe we can bring up this last graphic where we'll see some other people who've been in very similar circumstances. But Tori, I hate to see this, and I hate the fact that if we wanted to, we could profile cases like this every day on the show. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad. First off, I'm really glad you are profiling this, because some people are like, no, some people are doing it. Well, who? And we're putting a face to the name and we're personalizing it. I also want to just highlight what the man said, the husband, when he said, I knew they were going to try and do this, but I didn't know how. And I just want everybody to understand that you might have thought you don't love the border, or you want cheaper gas, or you don't love the allies because you don't think that maybe they're paying their share, right? The way that Trump is going to fix that is not presidential. It's not with a scalpel. It's not with something thoughtful, and it's not with any kind of care. It's a jackhammer. This guy takes, what do you call them? Those things? Is that a jackhammer? I'm not real tool heavy, but
break it. Yes.
Okay.
A jackhammer.
A jackhammer. And what he does is ignore the rules that you thought were sacred and in place. So that poor husband didn't think, of course, his wife would be brought up into gang members and all that, because you thought that Trump would handle it correctly, responsibly, thoughtfully, because you said, quote, I didn't know how he was going to go about doing it. Well, guess what, guys? This guy is Bam Bam from the Flintstones, okay? He takes away the Paris Climate Accord because of that. He'll take us out of our allies and just treat them like crap. And all of this stuff is what you thought you were voting for, but instead of getting someone who is respected, you're getting Bam Bam to take you down. And when you get Bam Bam and you get power hungry, you're getting people like this poor woman who's now stuck this way. So for anyone out there who thought this is the guy to do it, this is the guy to do it, think about the ways he has to do it, and think about the violence and the fear and the way that this country is not built for Bam Bam. That's my slogan for the day, John.
That's a bumper sticker for you. This country is not built for Bam Bam. Or maybe a really weird pop song lyric.
Give me a beat.
You're right. No, that's how he's doing it. It's that strategy. And let's also like understand, why would you do this to a woman? Well, obviously because you utterly hate people like this. You would definitely do it for that reason. Stephen Miller does not need any excuse other than that. He hates these people. He asked out a woman of Mexican descent or whatever in sophomore year of high school. She turned him down, and that was it. But anyway, he wrote a letter to Christina Aguilera or something, and she didn't respond, and that was it decades ago. But another reason you do that is because they just add her to the numbers.
Right.
Hey, look, we detained another person. Well, okay, are they criminals? Yeah, sort of. She's sort of a criminal. No, she's not. This isn't helping anyone. Why are we? They're talking about efficiency and cutting costs and everything. We're paying every day for this woman to live in this detention center. And it's a private detention center. It is a profit-seeking organization, okay? So you are paying out the butt. You're paying out the Bam Bam for her and many other people around the country, just so that Tom Homan can be like, hey, the number's slightly bigger.
That's right.
And they are having trouble getting that number up. You know why? Because there aren't thousands of migrant murderers around the country. And so you can't find a murderer, you find Camilla, I guess. Right. And that's who gets in there. So release her, for the love of God, release her. Please. Release her for her sake, release her for her husband's sake, release her for America's sake. This isn't helping anyone.
Amen.